Welcome 3D students. In this video I'm going to show you how to create tentacles for your monster. So let's get started. In this creature you can see I have tentacles around the base, and they're surprisingly easy to create. If we look at the reference images, this is my interpretation of this creature here, and possibly this one. I think they need to probably have a way to sort of move along the ground rather than floating in space, and so that's why I chose to put tentacles around the base. Here's an earlier version of him where I had just extruded the tentacles out, just to show you what that looks like. And if I turn on edge faces and turn off smoothing, you can clearly see that what I've done here is extruded 2 or actually 4 polygons out from the base, evenly spaced, and then I manipulated them. So here's where we left off in the last video, and this creature has feet, but if I wanted tentacles on here, then of course he wouldn't have feet. So what I'm going to do is fix him for tentacles, and then I'll come back in a couple of minutes and we'll get started. Okay, so here's my monster without feet. I just simply deleted the feet and reconstructed these down here. So let's put some tentacles on him. So I think you should start by going to polygon mode and grabbing all these bottom polygons here. And then flattening them out, and we can do that using the scale tool and scaling. Oops, looks like I selected some things by accident here. And make sure you select all of the polygons on the bottom here, like so. So they're in a circle here. And then select the scale tool and scale them all down flat using the Z-axis only. And then let's switch to the front view and move them down to the ground. And then use the scale tool to scale them out. And now in order to define the tops of the tentacles, we need an edge along the top here. So select Swift Loop and put an edge right along the top like so. And then let's put another edge right here, and and switch to edge mode and double click this edge if it's not selected, and maybe we can scale that in a little more. It's up to you. Alright, so this is where we're going to extrude the tentacles. So switch to polygon mode and start selecting tentacles. I'm going to switch to perspective view and try to select them so that they're evenly spaced around the creature. And then we need to inset them a bit, so right click and select inset. That's too much. And inset them maybe about like that much. And click the checkbox and then select the remaining polygons or pairs of polygons and inset them. Now I did it that way because if I'd selected all of them, then what would have happened is it would have insetted as one thing, and I wanted to inset them in pairs. Okay, so now I need to square these up. These are 2 rectangular, so I'm going to do them one at a time. I'm going to select them and scale them in to get them a little squarer than they are. And I'm just using one axis to do this. The ones on the corners are plenty square enough. Then I'm going to start by pulling these out a little bit. I have to do these one at a time. Forgot to scale this one. And this just takes a fair amount of time. Notice I'm using 2 axes to pull these on the corners out. Now, before we extrude these, we need to be able to round them off. So let's select Swift Loop and put an edge right there like that. And then we're going to have to go to vertex mode and begin to round these off. It's worth it to do this before you begin to extrude them. Otherwise, you have a lot more vertices to work with that you have to deal with. So I think it's easiest to pull the top ones up and then pull the side ones out. Sometimes you have to work in two axes with the side ones. Okay, once that's done, let's extrude our tentacles out. Let's switch to polygon mode, make sure all the end polygons are selected, and we're going to extrude them outward. Hit the checkbox and scale them down in all axes a little bit, not totally, and then pull them down, oops, and then switch to the front viewport so that you can see the ground line right here and pull them down so they're on the ground. This one is not on the ground, neither is this one. And then select them all again if you need to. Switch to the perspective view, look around, and make sure you didn't select any you didn't mean to. If you did, hold down Alt and deselect them. And then we're going to extrude them again. Click the checkbox, scale them down a little bit more, and move them down to the ground. And then let's extrude them one more time. And scale them down this time to almost to a point. And move them down to the ground. Now let's go back to the perspective view, and when we turn on NURMS, you can see we have some very passable tentacles. Now the final thing we need to do with these is make them look random. The easiest thing to do is to double click or switch to edge mode and double click on an edge on one of your tentacles and then move it over and maybe up a little bit. You can also use vertex mode to grab the end vertices of one of them and pull it up like that. Try not to make them look the same. You just go around and do each tentacle like that, and when you are done, you will have tentacles around the base of your monster. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.